I don't know your name yet. I don't know your voice or the way you laugh when no one is watching, but I know this. I am still waiting. Not in loneliness, not in doubt, but in faith, because some loves aren't rushed. They are prepared for every day I become someone worthy of you. Every night I leave space in my heart untouched just for you. Future wife, wherever you are, I'm still waiting, and I'm not going anywhere. Future wife, I'm still waiting, not standing still, not frozen in time, but moving forward with you already in mind, shaping my days with the quiet belief that some connections are written before they are lived, that some promises are made long before hands ever touch, and every morning I wake up knowing I have not met you yet. But I have never been careless with the space where you will arrive, because waiting is not emptiness when it is filled with intention, and I have filled it with growth, with discipline, with learning how to love without wasting love on the wrong moments, learning how to be calm when the world pushes me to rush, learning how to stay gentle without becoming weak. Because one day you will meet a version of me that was built in patience, not desperation. And I want you to feel safe in the way I listen, in the way I pause before I speak, in the way I choose silence over noise when silence says more. Because I believe real love does not arrive with chaos, it arrives with recognition, and until that recognition happens, I am loyal to you in absence, loyal in decisions you will never see, loyal in nights where loneliness could have taken control but did not. Because I kept choosing the future over the moment, I kept choosing you without knowing your face. And some people call that foolish, but I call it respect, because love that is real does not need proof to exist. It needs commitment to survive. And I have committed myself to becoming someone who does not disappear when things get heavy, someone who does not trade depth for convenience, someone who understands that love is not about being entertained, it is about being steady. And every challenge I face now is shaping how I will stand beside you later. Every disappointment teaching me how to remain kind without becoming cold. Every delay teaching me that timing is not punishment, it is preparation. And if I ever questioned why paths closed or people left, I understand now it was not loss, it was protection. Because the heart that will hold yours cannot be overcrowded with the wrong memories. It must be clear enough to recognize you when you arrive. And I am not searching in every face. I am not forcing connections. I am not chasing shadows. I am waiting with awareness, with quiet confidence, knowing that the woman meant for me will not need convincing. She will arrive with her own scars, her own strength, her own silence, and we will meet not as halves, but as two complete souls choosing to walk together. And when that day comes, you will not meet a man who was bored of waiting. You will meet a man who learned patience so deeply that love feels natural, unforced, steady. And until then, I remain here, building, learning, believing, carrying this unseen bond with care, trusting that somewhere you are also becoming, also healing, also learning how to recognize a love that does not shout but stays, a love that does not promise perfection but offers presence, a love that was patient enough to wait without resentment, strong enough to wait without fear, honest enough to wait without pretending that waiting is easy, because it is not easy, but it is meaningful. And meaning lasts longer than desire, and I choose what lasts. I choose you. Even now, even before we meet, even in this space where your name is unknown, but your place in my life is already reserved, untouched, protected, and growing. With every breath I take, with every choice I make, with every day I continue to wait without losing myself, without losing faith, without losing the quiet certainty that some love stories begin long before the first hello future wife. Before love finds us in the open, I have already chosen loyalty in the unseen moments, the kind of loyalty that exists when no one is watching, when there is no reward for doing the right thing except self-respect, because real devotion does not begin with romance, it begins with restraint, with the decision to not give pieces of myself away just to feel wanted for a moment. And I've walked away from easy connections, from temporary comfort, from words that sounded good but felt empty, because I knew somewhere ahead of me was a woman who deserved a man who did not arrive worn out by careless choices, and I wanted to meet you whole, not patched together by regret, so I stayed loyal to a future I could not yet see, loyal to a name I could not yet say, Loy. Al to you without expectation of applause, because loyalty is not proven when love is convenient, it is proven when love is still a distance away and you choose to honor it anyway. And there were nights when loneliness tried to convince me that compromise was harmless, that giving less would cost nothing. but I understood that every small decision shapes the man who will one day stand beside you. And I refused to become someone who explains instead of protects, someone who apologizes for who he was instead of showing who he is. And loyalty to me has never been about possession. It has been about direction, about keeping my heart pointed toward one horizon even when the road was quiet. And I learned that loyalty is a form of discipline, a daily practice of saying no to what feels good now so I can say yes to what will last later. And in that discipline, I found strength, not stiffness, calm, not distance, because loyalty does not make love heavy, it makes it safe. And safety is built long before two lives intertwine. It is built in habits, in boundaries, in the way a man treats people who can offer him nothing, in the way he handles temptation without turning it into a story. And I became careful with my words, careful with my promises, careful with my energy, because one day you will step into my life and I want peace to greet you first. Not confusion, not unfinished business, not shadows from choices I never question. And if you ever wonder why I move slowly, why I value depth over excitement, why I listen more than I speak, it is because loyalty taught me patience and patience taught me presence. And presence is the most honest form of love, and I believe you are not looking for perfection. You are looking for someone who stays aligned even when things get uncomfortable. Someone whose loyalty does not disappear under pressure. Someone who does not need constant reassurance to remain true. And that is who I am becoming, step by step, quietly, without rushing the process. Because loyalty is not loud, it does not announce itself, it reveals itself over time in consistency, in steadiness, in the absence of drama. And when our paths finally cross, you will not need proof of my loyalty. You will feel it in the way I stand, in the way I choose you without hesitation, in the way my past does not compete with our present because I guarded that past with intention, because I understood that loving you begins long before meeting you, and I stayed loyal to that understanding even when it would have been easier not to a future wife. I learned to trust timing more than desire, because desire is impatient and timing is honest. And there were moments when I wanted answers quickly, when I wanted to know why paths did not align, why connections faded before they even began, why silence followed hope. But with time I understood that life is not late, it is precise, and what feels like delay is often protection shaping the outcome. And I stopped asking when and started asking who I needed to become before love arrived. Because faith in timing is not passive, it is active acceptance. It is showing up fully for the present without demanding that the future hurry for my comfort. And in that acceptance, I found peace, a steady kind of peace that does not rise and fall with circumstances. Because I realized that love built on urgency often collapses, while love built on trust stands quietly through seasons. And I chose to believe that if something is meant to stay, it does not need to be chased. It finds its way when both souls are ready to hold it. And readiness is not measured by age or opportunity, it is measured by depth, by self-awareness, by the ability to remain kind without needing validation. And I spent this time learning how to sit with uncertainty without letting it harden me, learning how to wait without resentment, learning how to hope without creating pressure, because faith in timing means I do not turn every delay into a disappointment. I turn it into space to grow, and every unanswered question became a lesson in surrender. Not surrender as giving up, but surrender as trust, trusting that the story is unfolding with intention, even when I cannot see the full picture. And if I ever felt alone, I reminded myself that alignment cannot be rushed, that two lives meeting at the wrong time can damage what was meant to be beautiful, and I would rather wait in truth than arrive early in chaos. And this belief shaped how I move through the world, calmly, deliberately, without forcing outcomes, because forcing creates cracks, and love deserves a foundation that is patient enough to hold weight. And I know somewhere you are also living your own lessons, also learning your own timing, also understanding that some connections do not fail. They simply are not ready yet. And when the moment finally comes, it will not feel dramatic. It will feel familiar, like something that was always on its way. And until that moment, I carry faith quietly, not as a demand, not as an expectation, but as a steady presence, trusting that what is aligned will arrive without resistance, without confusion, without the need to convince, because timing, when honored, does not ask for proof. It reveals itself naturally, future wife. Long before we meet, I have already made promises that only you will ever hear. Promises not spoken aloud. Promises written in the way I live, the way I choose my actions, the way I guard my heart from distractions that would take me away from you, because love is more than words. It is demonstrated in choices, in constancy, in the quiet ways we show up for someone who does not yet know we exist. And I have promised to be present, even in absence, to be patient, even when waiting feels like a weight, to be honest, even when truth is inconvenience, and to be steady, even when the world shifts and changes around me. And these promises are not temporary, they are not dependent on circumstance, they are woka, oven into the way I move, into the way I see life, into the way I treat those around me, because I know that love is tested before it arrives, that the foundations are built before the walls, and the more I honor those promises now, the stronger I will be when we finally stand together. And I have promised to listen without judgment, to protect without controlling, to support without asking for return, because love that arrives fully formed is not about possession, it is about partnership, about two souls creating a space where both can grow without losing themselves. And I have promised to be someone who does not shy away from hard conversations, who does not hide in fear when conflict arises, who faces challenges with courage and compassion, because love is not only tenderness, it is courage too. And I want you to meet someone who has learned that balance, someone who has learned that strength and gentleness are not opposites, someone who can hold space for your vulnerabilities without diminishing my own. And I have promised to laugh with you even when life feels heavy, to celebrate even the smallest moments, to remember that joy is cultivated. And I have promised to be faithful in ways that are quiet but unwavering, faithful to the person I am becoming so that I can be faithful to you, faithful to the timing of our meeting, so that when it comes, it is right. And I have promised to keep the heart I will give you clean, free from past regrets that could cloud what we will have, free from distractions that could weaken the bond before it begins. And these promises are living things. They grow in the choices I make daily, in the way I speak, in the way I act. And when we finally meet, you will not need to hear these promises, because you will feel them. You will see them reflected in the life I have built in preparation for you. And until that day comes, I continue to hold them, to honor them, to live them, because love that waits with intention, patience, loyalty, faith, and promises becomes a force that endures all circumstances. And in that endurance, our story begins even before the first word is ever spoken. And in this quiet, unseen preparation, I am readying a love that is whole, unwavering, and true, a love that will be for you and only you. And I will wait as long as it takes to meet the woman who deserves all of this and more, future wife. I want you to know that I am still waiting, not in despair, not in boredom, not in idle fantasy, but with purpose, with quiet devotion, with a calm heart that has learned to hold space for someone I have not yet met. Because love is not something that is forced, love is something that is earned, nurtured, and arrived at when two souls have learned the lessons that life intends for them. And I have spent years, maybe decades, becoming the man who can one day stand beside you, not just in happiness, but in the shadows, in the silence, in the small moments that others overlook. Because true love is tested, these small, ordinary moments, in the choices that seem insignificant, in the way a man treats people who will never return the favor, in the way he respects time, in the way he honors absence without losing hope. And I have been careful, not out of fear, not out of anxiety, but out of respect. Because I understand that the heart is fragile, that some connections are delicate, and that waiting with intention is more powerful than rushing without understanding. And I have learned patience in ways that words cannot fully capture, patience that comes from watching the world move at its own pace, from seeing opportunities and moments pass by without panic, from understanding that timing is not a punishment, but a preparation. And every delay, every closed door, every quiet night alone has been shaping me, sculpting me, teaching me what it means to truly value a person before they even arrive. Because I do not want to meet you unprepared. I do not want to bring a heart that is divided or a soul that is fractured. I want to meet you with a presence that is whole, steady, unwavering, with arms that are ready to hold not only you, but the weight of life that we will inevitably carry together. And I've learned that love is not only about joy, it is about courage, it is about facing the unknown and choosing to remain open, to remain tender, to remain loyal, even when everything inside of me whispers to retreat, even when loneliness threatens to convince me that waiting is meaningless. S. Even when the world tells me that love should be immediate, that it should be loud, that it should come with fireworks and dramatic gestures. But I know better. I know that the love that lasts is not loud. It is quiet. It is steadfast. It does not demand attention. It does not seek recognition. It simply exists in consistency, in care, in the little things that others miss, and I have been building that love, even when I could not see it, even when I could not touch it, even when I did not know your face, your name, your laugh, or the way your eyes catch the light. I have been building it in the choices I make every day, in the way I treat those around me, in the way I stay true to myself, in the way I remain patient with my own growth, because I know that to love you fully, I must first learn how to love responsibly, how to love consciously, how to honor the sacredness of what we will have together. And that means not settling for less, not rushing into shallow connections, not giving pieces of my heart to those who cannot recognize its value. Because you deserve a love that is entire, a heart that is ready, a soul that is steady. And I want to be that person for you, even before we meet, even in absence, even in the quiet that others call loneliness. Because I understand that what is meant to be will arrive when both of us are ready. And until then, I am preparing, not with anxiety, not with obsession, but with purpose, with awareness, with dedication, and I have said myself that I will not lose myself while I wait. I will not become bitter. I will not allow the world to harden me. I will remain soft where softness is needed, strong where strength is required, honest where honesty is rare, and loyal where loyalty is tested, because I know that love that endures is built in the waiting, in the preparation, in the integrity of the heart long before it meets the person it is destined to hold. And I have learned to cherish solitude, not as emptiness, but as opportunity, as training, as meditation for the day we meet. Because when you arrive, I want to be ready, not only to hold you, but to understand you, to hear you, to see you in all your complexity, your scars, your beauty, your vulnerabilities, your strength, without trying to fix or change you, without needing to rush the story, without forcing connection, because love that is real does not need convincing, it only needs readiness. And I have been learning readiness in the quiet moments, in the early mornings, in the late nights, in the small decisions that no one notices, in the integrity I carry when no one is looking. And I have learned that patience is not waiting passively. It is active, it is conscious, it is choosing daily to remain steady, to remain faithful, to remain open, to continue believing in something I cannot yet see, something I cannot yet touch, because I understand that love worth having requires preparation, and I have been preparing not only my heart, but my mind, my soul, my life, so that when